A young martial artist just conquered the most prestigious tournament in the land, defeating legends twice his age with techniques that shouldn't exist. But when his final opponent kneels in defeat, the crowd doesn't see the real threat. Hidden formations are masking a battle so brutal it would start a war if anyone knew the truth. Now the victor stands before his own father, the exiled heir of the most powerful hidden clan in existence, and declares he's going to unite the entire martial world by force. The problem: his father spent 20 years in hiding specifically to avoid that kind of bloodshed. 20 years after the Great War, peace somehow feels worse than the chaos it replaced. Petty theft becomes routine, exploitation slips into daily life, and quiet cruelty spreads until nobody bats an eye. Zhang, once vibrant and alive, now looks drained and empty. Most people think power has to be loud, flashing sect banners, flexing reputations written in blood, announcing itself to the world. That's dead wrong. True power never shouts. My name is Zhang, and while this world stays busy sharpening blades and choosing sides, I drift through it calmly, watching everything, revealing nothing. The Dragon and Phoenix tournament gets worshipped like some sacred proving ground where talent blooms and legends rise. But that story only exists for the spectators. Strip away the ceremony and you've got a pristine slaughterhouse where sects test their weapons, discard the fragile, and welcome monsters wearing human faces. I'm not here chasing honor or recognition. I'm here to observe, to listen, and to let truth surface on its own. This is the kind of world where heroes crash hard, demons crouch low, and the divide between man and monster blurs until it barely exists. While crowds worship the wrong saviors and condemn the wrong enemies, reality stays buried right where it needs to be. This isn't about justice or heroism. It's about what unfolds when a quiet man finally stops restraining himself. Once the tournament closes and those gates swing wide, Jiang steps into an era that isn't prepared for him. Welcome to the story of Jin, the man who plots slow, smiles easy, and dismantles everything without raising his voice. Rain hammers the compound as guards stand posted outside. Inside, two men sit across from each other. Ibang Jin, head of the Jinhua Merchant Alliance, dredges up a bitter past that still burns. He recounts crossing paths with someone who obliterated his life, stripped his wealth, severed his fingers without hesitation. His voice seethes as he warns Maiyang Hui, the most feared assassin in Jianghu, that this enemy shouldn't be taken lightly. Maiyang Hui listens quietly, then asks for a clearer description. After hesitating, Ibang Jin admits the most striking detail is the man's handsome appearance. He recalls meeting him by chance at a drinking gathering where the young man's charm, wit, and courteous manner immediately stood out. Despite being only 20, the man spoke with confidence earned from traveling the Central Plains. Over 2 months, Ibang Jin grew close to him, slowly dropping his defenses. Everything shifted during a drunken moment when the man casually demonstrated martial arts. Movements that revealed a hidden mark tied to a Sang Nong, the legendary lightning blade and former member of the 10 great masters of Jianghu. The realization shakes Ibang Jin because his Sang Nong vanished during the Great Righteous and Demonic War. Though the war ended 2 decades ago, nobody's seen him since. At first, Ibang Jin doubts the connection. His suspicion hardens when he discovers a martial arts manual in the man's possession. Greed crushes reason. He decides to kill the man and steal the secret, convinced the sword of life and death would make him impossibly rich. Many powerful masters, including Mukjong the demon sword, sought that technique and never came back. But Ibang Jin convinces himself he'll succeed. Instead, the man comes for him with effortless precision. He removes Ibang Jin's fingers, takes everything he owns, shows zero regret, even expresses satisfaction. The humiliation never fades. Ibang Jin begs Maiyang Hui to kill the man, finally revealing his name, Egan Jack. Maiyang Hui finds the story hard to swallow. The missing fingers sitting right in front of him, though, offer proof that can't be ignored. Later, Maiyang Hui moves through the compound and questions a servant, asking to see the room where Egan Jack stayed. The servant leads the way, speaking warmly of Egan Jack's kindness and respect toward even the lowest servants. As they walk, Maiyang Hui recalls his investigation. Some servants describe Egan Jack as an elegant young master. Others remember him as a wealthy man who lost everything. Some mocked him as a fool gambling away money while claiming it's all part of some grander plan. He also learns Egan Jack once competed in a martial arts tournament, adding another layer to his shifting faces. Inside the empty room, Myung Hui searches carefully. He finds little worth noting except a map on the wall. One location is circled and marked, Conquer Hubei. The discovery lights him up. Hubei is scheduled to host 2 major martial arts tournaments that year. He concludes this must be Egan Jack's next destination. Before he can process further, a presence materializes behind him. He's struck unconscious before he can react. When Myung Hui wakes, he's pinned helplessly against a wall while 3 figures sit nearby, drinking tea calmly. As he studies them, recognition hits one by one. The woman with sickles radiates crushing energy. Wang Yang, the Supreme Demon Queen. The symbol on another man's sword marks him as a Sang Nong, the lightning blade himself. The oppressive demonic aura of the third confirms Mukjong's presence. Myung Hui understands immediately that these legendary figures operate under Egan Jack. They spare his life not for mercy, but because they've sworn not to kill without Egan Jack's consent. Even though they've already crippled him beyond recovery. Knowing his fate is sealed, Myung Hui accepts it and ends his own life with poison, bitterly acknowledging that Egan Jack stands far beyond reach. The scene shifts to Egan Jack himself, standing alone with 2 swords on his back as a group of martial artists confront him. Confidence and greed fill their faces. They demand the secret manual. Their arrogance collapses instantly. Egan Jack moves faster than sight, killing their leader with a single strike before a blade is even drawn. Panic spreads as the rest attack, only to be defeated effortlessly. He blocks weapons with a single finger, crushes them one by one, leaves their bodies scattered in seconds. When silence returns, it's clear Egan Jack remains untouchable. The Great War between the Orthodox faction and the demonic cult, a brutal conflict lasting 13 years, drowning Jianghu in endless blood and despair. Despite the hatred on both sides, the war suddenly ends with an unexpected truce whose true terms stay hidden even after 20 years. Since that day, both the Heavenly Demon Cult and the Orthodox Alliance choose silence, allowing rumors to fade while time moves forward. As years pass, new factions rise in Jianghu while others crumble, struggling to reclaim lost strength. Among those fallen groups stands the Righteous Sword Sect, once a proud family now fighting desperately to restore its honor. Inside this sect, a young woman named Zhang Cherian trains relentlessly, swinging her sword again and again, frustration building in her chest. No matter how hard she works, she can't break through to the 7 Stars realm. Though she practices the Scarlet Trace sword art with fierce determination, her progress feels frozen, like an invisible wall blocks her path. During one such moment, her sister Werin and her brother-in-law approach. Werin, the eldest daughter of the sect leader, calmly delivers unexpected news. A swordsman from the Palm Essence Union named Jiang has arrived and wishes to partner with Cherian in the upcoming Dragon and Phoenix tournament. The moment she hears this, Cherian feels shocked and offended. She knows this tournament is one of the 2 greatest competitions in the Central Plains, where young martial artists fight in male and female pairs. Unlike the Heavenly Dragon tournament that risks life and honor alone. The idea of partnering with Jiang instantly angers her since she sees him as nothing but a shameless pervert. Unable to hide her fury, she refuses outright and turns her anger toward her sister. Werin stays composed, urging her to think carefully, reminding her that Cherian dreams of restoring their clan's honor and that participation could bring prestige. Before Werin finishes speaking, Cherian storms away in frustration. Elsewhere, the marketplace buzzes with life as merchants shout and display their goods. Under a shaded umbrella, several men speak loudly about recent events, laughing as they celebrate news that the Grandmaster lost another finger, calling it long overdue justice. As Cherian passes by, exhaustion shows on her face. She quietly wonders whether the Palm Essence Union will retaliate, questioning whether those with power truly believe they can act without consequence. Watching the people of Jianghu, she grows heavy-hearted as schemes, lies, and cruelty seem to rule every interaction, making her question the ideals she once admired. She pauses, asking herself if this is truly the Jiang who she once dreamed of. Her thoughts break when Jiang suddenly appears beside her, as if emerging from thin air. He calmly remarks that he too questions Jiang who, pointing out that the Heavenly Demon's 9 calamities, also known as the Invincible Demon Art, can't be defeated in single combat, and that the sudden end of the Great War feels like a ridiculous play. Startled by his words and knowledge, Cherian turns to face him, silently wondering who he really is. Jiang casually suggests sharing a drink and asks her to guide him since it's his first time in Wuhan. She rejects him sharply, calling him a vagrant and stating she has no time. As she leaves, Egan asks whether she truly believes the current Jiang who holds any value, forcing her to stop and demand an explanation. He claims ideals and chivalry died long ago, leaving behind a hollow world. Instead of getting angry, Cherian challenges him by asking why he continues living here, then walks away while muttering that Jiang Hu isn't as hopeless as he claims, leaving Egan quietly reflecting on her words. Later, the Huang Inn overflows with noise as guests debate the Dragon and Phoenix tournament, arguing whether the Northern Heaven Supreme family or the Southern Peak Alliance will dominate. When Cherian enters, an attendant recognizes her as a member of the Righteous Sword Sect and offers her a discounted seat in a special room, unintentionally drawing attention. Embarrassed by whispers calling her Wuhan's best, she notices Egan again teasing her. She soon sits beside him as he eats greedily and asks about tournament registration, startling her with his confidence, strange humor, and sudden seriousness. Just as Zhang Engel of the Palm Essence Union arrives, tosses gold at Egan, and orders him to leave. Egan remains seated calmly. Egan stays calm, casually saying the single gold coin isn't enough because more dishes are still coming. His words immediately irritate Engel, who sneers and tells him to leave while he's still being generous. Engel's eyes drift toward Egan's sword. He laughs loudly, assuming the man is trying to show off simply because he's a fighter of Jiang Hu. With a mocking grin, Engel reaches out and tries to lift the sword. It doesn't move even slightly. Surprised, he grits his teeth and tries again, this time pouring internal energy into his arms. The sword finally rises a few inches before crashing back down. Engel quickly lets go, his face stiff with embarrassment. Forcing a laugh, he claims the sword must be a heavy training weapon meant to build strength. People around them nod and murmur in agreement, unwilling to believe a real sword could be that heavy. Egan doesn't react to their whispers. He simply lifts the sword with one hand, rests it on his shoulder, and states calmly it's not a training sword. Engel's irritation deepens. He snaps back, accusing Egan of lying and insisting the weapon is obviously fake. Their exchange grows sharper. Suddenly, Engel releases his energy, filling the room with pressure as tension rises instantly. Before the situation explodes, Cherian steps forward and demands everyone stop. Her voice cuts through the room, leaving even Engel momentarily stunned. He turns to her with a crooked smile, studying her closely, teasingly suggesting perhaps she's interested in him. Without warning, he grabs her hand and declares they'll compete together in the Dragon and Phoenix tournament, adding it would be wise for them to get close beforehand. Cherian immediately pulls her hand free, firmly stating she's already chosen another partner. Engel freezes in disbelief, asking why. She answers without hesitation, criticizing him for hiding behind his family's power and calling such behavior disgraceful. His expression hardens, though he quickly masks it. He asks who she's chosen instead. Before she can answer, Egan casually speaks up, saying he'll be her partner. Confusion spreads across Engel's face as his sister Inoue steps forward, questioning Egan, asking if he even knows who he's dealing with. Egan responds calmly, asking if she knows who he is. When she admits she doesn't, he explains people usually react to the unknown in two ways, either by ignoring it or by fearing it. He says she's doing both at once. Inoue listens with cold interest, giving a vague reply that neither agrees nor denies his words. Engel finally snaps, accusing Egan of being shameless. Egan shrugs, lightly remarking that eating well gives people confidence. He stands, straightens his clothes, turns to Cherian, tells her they'll meet again at the tournament, then walks out. Inoue lingers for a moment, watching him, quietly promising they'll meet again. Silence follows. Cherian's thoughts race as she worries about Engel's temper and the trouble that may follow. Though Egan seems unconcerned, he casually declares their tournament partnership is now decided. When she asks if he planned to enter anyway, he confirms it but admits his plans have changed. She realizes he also intends to enter the Heavenly Dragon tournament. She asks directly. He confirms it. She then questions why he didn't retaliate earlier despite his obvious strength. Egan answers seriously that he doesn't fight children. His honesty catches her off guard, leaving her speechless. Outside the inn, Engel storms away while his companions try to console him. One mocks Cherion's choice. Engel can't forget the weight of Egan's sword and vows revenge. At the Righteous Sword Sect, tensions rise as Cherion returns and announces she'll compete with Egan, stunning everyone present as he steps forward and politely introduces himself. Egan casually notices a porcelain vase displayed inside the room, calmly asking if it comes from the Fujian region. When he hears it costs 150 niang, he smiles lightly, commenting he could have bought it for 120 niang if he'd been there earlier. His relaxed tone only deepens the confusion in the room. The sect leader struggles to process the shocking news about Cherion's chosen partner, his mind heavy as he studies Egan more carefully. Warren, still stunned, directly asks Egan which sect he belongs to. His answer comes without hesitation. He belongs to no sect at all. He explains his parents simply sell fruit near the Hunan Gate. The room falls into complete silence as disbelief spreads. The sect leader shifts his gaze to the weapons Egan carries, noticing he has both a sword and a blade. Curious, he asks if Egan has mastered both paths. At first, the leader assumes it's only a bluff. When Egan calmly answers yes, the air grows heavier. Pressing further, the leader asks who taught him martial arts. Egan replies his parents taught him. The disbelief turns into shock. Parents who sell fruit teaching martial arts feels impossible. Warren quickly pulls Cherion aside, whispering urgently that she must apologize to young Master Engel immediately. She insists fighting alongside someone trained by fruit sellers is unacceptable and will only bring disaster to their family. Cherion listens but remains silent, her thoughts tangled with doubt. Later that night, Cherion walks along a quiet path, the darkness matching her uneasy heart. She reflects on her decision to bring Egan back, believing it's necessary to protect him from Engel's anger. Turning toward Egan, she asks if he can't sleep. He admits changing places often disturbs his rest, then casually adds he has something important to take care of tonight, mentioning a few people will be sent to the afterlife. His calm tone leaves her unsure whether he's serious or joking. Curious, Cherion asks about his parents. She mentions hearing his mother is beautiful and asks about his father. Egan pauses before describing his father as a man who strictly follows rules, which often causes tension between them. He explains his parents oppose his involvement in Jianghu, not only out of fear for him but for deeper reasons. Cherion misunderstands, assuming they're simply worried parents like her own. Egan then lightens the mood, joking his vegetable dinner feels too light and asking if meat will be served tomorrow. Amused, Cherion tells him to stop talking nonsense and advises him to leave after breakfast. Egan looks at her calmly, asks if she's worried about him. Startled, she quickly turns away and denies it, claiming she only worries about the people he might meet. Elsewhere, in front of a building shrouded in red mist, thugs gather around a fire. One laughs while recounting how he killed a trembling young man seeking revenge for his father. Another jokes they at least saved the boy from becoming an orphan. Their laughter suddenly stops when Egan appears. They demand to know who he is and whether he understands where he stands. Egan calmly replies he knows this is the wandering market, the black market of Jianghu. The thugs mock him, calling him a child, laughing at his boldness. Egan warns them coldly that calling him a child again will be their last mistake. Angered, one thug draws his sword and charges. Before the blade reaches him, Egan releases energy from his palm. The man collapses dead in an instant. Shock turns to terror as the others realize what happened. Declaring this day marks an important step toward his future, Egan attacks. He slaughters everyone, cutting through limbs and lives with ease until he reaches the top floor. There he confronts the Hog Emperor, calmly stating he's come to buy the most expensive person in the room. The Hog Emperor watches closely, believing Egan is already doomed the moment he stepped inside. The maids begin their alluring blissful dance, a sorcery so refined it dulls reason and traps the mind without the victim realizing. Their movements flow smoothly, filled with charm and danger, the air itself heavy with enchantment. When one maid finally strikes, Egan calmly raises his hand and blocks her attack with ease, as if nothing unusual is happening. Watching their movements, he remarks the dance is beautiful but far from enough to kill him. He casually takes a hairpin from one of the maids and flicks it toward a pillar. The pin pierces the wood and shatters the lamp hanging above the Emperor's head. The Hog Emperor stiffens in shock, realizing Egan has completely seen through their soul-manipulating sorcery. The maids freeze, unable to believe their technique failed so completely. Egan turns his gaze toward the women, calmly asking if any of them truly care for the Emperor. None answer. Their silence speaks louder than words. Understanding their situation, Egan tells them they're not here by choice and encourages them to leave. He assures them they no longer need to fear punishment, urges them to find the courage to live freely. Though terrified of defying their master, the women slowly gather resolve and begin to move, inspired by his words. The Hog Emperor bursts into loud laughter, clapping, mockingly praising Egan's speech with heavy sarcasm. He declares the women won't leave without having their limbs cut off. For the first time, Egan's expression darkens. Stepping forward, he speaks coldly, promising if the Emperor dares harm them, he'll repay that cruelty by slicing him apart piece by piece. The murderous intent radiating from Egan traps the Hog Emperor in place. Trembling under the pressure, he can't move. The maids bow deeply in gratitude, thanking Egan with tears before fleeing. He gives them a large sum of money, reminds them to live well and treasure their freedom. Left behind, the Hog Emperor seethes with rage, furious that someone he sees as a brat has stripped him of authority. Determined to regain control, he activates his body protection art. His body swells to 3 times its original size. He roars that Egan will die by his technique. Egan responds calmly, saying growing bigger only means the Emperor must endure a greater beating. The Emperor charges forward, swinging massive arms. Egan dodges effortlessly, appearing behind him again and again. Each missed strike fuels the Emperor's anger while Egan's calm smile only deepens the humiliation. Swearing to crush him, the Emperor gathers strength. Egan kicks his chest with overwhelming force, sending the massive body crashing through several walls. Coughing blood, the Emperor struggles to rise, gathering energy in his hand. Egan spits in disgust, calling him a filthy pig for imprisoning innocent women. Flicking a small stone with terrifying precision, he shatters the Emperor's hand, ending the fight. Collapsing to his knees, the Emperor finally realizes he's facing a true master. Desperate, the Emperor compresses his body, shrinking while doubling his power. Before he can act, Egan appears before him and strikes his stomach with devastating force, releasing energy that tears through his body. The Emperor collapses completely. Egan stands over him, says he's paid for his life. As the Emperor dies, Egan turns to a hunchbacked man nearby, calls him Manor Master Hua, then reveals his true name, Mukjiol Hua. The man drops his disguise, revealing himself as the former patriarch of Steel Ghost Manor. Hearing his tragic past, Egan acknowledges his pain and offers him purpose. Moved, Master Hua kneels and swears loyalty. Egan smiles, asks if they should begin. While Master Hua still looks confused, flames rise quietly from both of Egan's hands, lighting the room with a dangerous glow. Outside under the moonlight, a shadow lands softly on a tree branch, watching the building in silence, wondering if the young master's battle has already ended. Minutes later, Master Hua's twisted body slowly returns to its original form. The moment he realizes the change he once believed irreversible has been undone, shock and disbelief overwhelm him completely. The great law should never allow such a reversal. His knees weaken, his voice trembles. He sincerely thanks Egan with deep emotion, unable to hide his gratitude. Egan only smiles calmly, tells him not to thank him yet. He explains from now on, hard work awaits him, and true gratitude should come after results are achieved, not before. As they speak, another man approaches with admiration clear in his eyes, respectfully greeting Egan as young master. This man is Myong, Egan's personal guard. Egan glances at him and immediately mocks him, saying he needs to shave and is starting to look older than he should. Myong pretends to be gravely wounded by the insult, coughs dramatically as if spitting blood, making the moment strangely light despite everything that's happened. Egan then introduces Myong to Master Hua, explaining Myong is his most trusted guard and will guide Master Hua through everything from now on. Without warning, Egan announces their original plan has changed and their next move will begin with the Palm Essence Union. Myong is visibly shocked, asks why, pointing out Egan once dismissed the Palm Essence Union as not worth their effort. He questions why Egan is suddenly entering the Dragon and Phoenix tournament. Egan answers casually that people's minds can change at any time. Myong scoffs, says that excuse sounds like something a shameless playboy would say. For a brief moment, Egan is speechless. Then he laughs, accuses Myong of being jealous of his popularity. Myong firmly denies this, replies having many admirers doesn't mean good fortune because true luck lies in marrying the right woman. Egan continues teasing him while Master Hua watches the exchange in complete confusion, unable to understand their strange relationship. Morning arrives at the Palm Essence Union. Cherian and her father Zhang come to meet young Master Engel to smooth things over. At the gate, guards inform them both the union leader and Engel are away and they don't know when they'll return. Zhang politely asks them to pass along a message, admitting he's come to apologize before matters worsen. As they prepare to leave, a man named Hyuk steps out, famous for his martial arts and known as the Eight Flying Hands. He greets Zhang warmly, explaining he's visiting under the union leader's invitation and is surprised to meet him here. Zhang responds courteously while noting the Palm Essence Union surrounds itself with skilled people. Hyuk cheerfully suggests they drink together, insists on paying. Unbeknownst to them, Engel watches from inside with a dark expression. At the Spring Breeze Inn, Hyuk pours Bear Bile wine, urges Zhang to drink, praising it as a rare delicacy. Zhang thanks him politely. During their talk, Hyuk casually mentions the Palm Essence Union leader seems quite angry. Alarmed, Zhang asks him to help mediate if possible. Hyuk laughs, dismisses it as a minor issue between children. At the same time, Cherian thinks about how she prepared food for Egan that morning, only to be told by a maid he left without saying anything. Suddenly, Hyuk panics, mutters he forgot something urgent, runs out of the inn, leaving Zhang stunned. Moments later, the attendant brings the bill, revealing an outrageous cost, the wine alone priced at 120 niang. Zhang sighs, says he'll return the next day to pay. The attendant coldly refuses credit, states Cherian can remain as collateral. When Zhang protests angrily, the attendant suggests Cherian could entertain guests if payment isn't made, making it clear this is no ordinary inn. Zhang notices the guards nearby, realizes they're stronger than him. At that moment, Egan enters casually holding a bottle of wine. Cherian asks why he's here. Egan simply says he came to drink. He places the bottle down, calmly remarks the wine tastes strange, hinting something's been added. As the attendant grows nervous, Egan loudly declares the Bear Bile wine is fake, drawing a crowd. He proposes a wager. If the wine is fake, he'll take everything earned today. If he's wrong, he'll offer his own gallbladder. He leads everyone to a hidden storehouse, shatters the door with his bare hands, reveals the jar used to brew the wine. When the attendant attacks him with a hidden needle, Egan blocks it with the jar, which shatters, spilling wine filled with writhing insects. Smiling coldly, Egan asks the crowd if anyone still wants to drink. Egan holds up a small cup, repeats his offer to let someone taste the wine. The crowd recoils in disgust at the wriggling insects spilling from the broken jar. Some mutter refusals, others nervously inspect their own cups, horrified at the thought of having consumed the insects. Egan frowns at the lack of takers, saying someone must confirm his claim. A voice from the back shouts he's crazy and Bear Bile wine couldn't involve such creatures. Egan ignores the interruption, lifts one insect close to his face. He explains it's called a black-painted insect, named for the artistic pattern on its back. A skeptic asks what importance it holds. Egan reveals the insect's secretions taste like bear bile, so similar ordinary people can't tell the difference. Realizing they'd unknowingly consumed insect secretions, the crowd reacts with panic and outrage. At that moment, a large imposing man enters. His presence silences the crowd immediately. He is Wang Inyang, leader of the Southern Peak Alliance, a powerful figure who rose to prominence after the 13-year Great Orthodox Demonic War. His respect commands attention. Even the madam of the inn trembles before him. Inyang and his subordinates scrutinize Egan, asking how he knows about the black-painted insect supposedly found only in southern regions. Calmly, Egan explains he's traveled widely since his youth. The elder notes Egan's vast knowledge, asks his identity. Egan smiles, introduces himself as the eldest son of drifting clouds and flowing water, the best fruit merchants near the outskirts. The elder and his servants are taken aback, not expecting such a humble background. After a moment, In-young laughs heartily, admiring Egan's cleverness in hiding his true identity. Meanwhile, Egan continues offering the wine to anyone brave enough. One subordinate, Hui Mak, the White Tiger Squad leader, watches closely and decides to taste it with the elder's approval. After sipping, Hui Mak grimaces, exclaims it's exactly the same as the wine served earlier. The crowd erupts in horror, realizing they've been deceived. The madam protests, claiming she's innocent. The crowd demands justice. Guards hesitate, intimidated by In-young and Hui Mak, while the madam threatens them with dire consequences. Chaos spreads, but Egan stays calm. Zhang bows deeply in gratitude, acknowledging without Egan they'd be in serious trouble. Egan casually says no one else could have managed such a feat, jokes he expects to be treated as their savior now. In-young observes Egan intently. Hui Mak notes the young man is intriguing. In-young admits Egan is more than just interesting. Seeing him awakens a long-forgotten feeling of pleasure, excitement, desperation, and ambition, much like when he first conquered the Southern Peak Alliance. Even with his experience, In-young can't explain why Egan evokes such a reaction, leaving Hui Mak astonished. Later that night, a man runs frantically through the forest, clothes soaked in blood. He mutters about the urgency of alerting others. Suddenly, a shadow appears beside him. Instinctively, he reaches for his sword. The figure catches up. The bloodied man recognizes the pursuer's badge from the Northern Heaven's Supreme Family. Urgently, he explains both the Dragon and Phoenix tournament and the Heavenly Dragon tournament must be cancelled. A conspiracy unfolds, orchestrated by the Flying Swallowtail Association. Before they can act, other footsteps approach. The bloodied man devises a plan to act as bait while the pursuer escapes to deliver the warning. The pursuer suddenly betrays him. In one swift motion, the man's neck is sliced, blood spraying across the forest floor. Calmly, the pursuer remarks their real enemies aren't from the Flying Swallow Association but the Flying Swallowtail Association. Nearby, butterflies flutter. A woman perched on a branch watches the scene, the leader, holding a fan with a gleam in her eyes. The 16th butterfly kneels before her, reporting the 14th butterfly already handled the others. She smiles, declares the Dragon and Phoenix tournament will be a nightmare. Elsewhere, under the moonlight, Egan and Cherian walk together. They stop briefly. Cherian thanks him for helping earlier. Recalling an incident where the young master provoked him, she reflects on how absurd it is to enter the Dragon and Phoenix tournament with such a volatile person. Egan encourages her to join the tournament with him, promising victory. Skeptical but determined to prove others wrong, Cherian agrees. They resolve to do their best, walking under the pale moonlight. Suddenly, Hyuk reappears, taunting Egan. He confirms a kill order on both of them. Hyuk's wide grin and menacing aura frighten Cherian. She grips her sword, asks if Egan has faced real combat before. Surprisingly, Egan hides behind her, pretending to seek protection, making the situation even more tense. The man confronting them reveals himself as a master of palm techniques so skilled his hands appear to multiply into 8, earning him the title 8 Flying Hands. Once a hero with dreams of a better Jiang-hu, Hyuk abandoned his ideals, disillusioned by the growing prosperity of villains, now exists as one himself. Casting aside the line between good and evil, he looms ominously before the two young martial artists. Cherian's body trembles at the overwhelming gap in skill and experience that seems as vast as heaven and earth. Sensing her fear, Egan leans close, instructs her to draw her sword. She complies, unsheathes her blade with determination, vowing not to stand idly by while the threat looms. The tense standoff unfolds with Hyuk smirking, mocking her eagerness to die before activating his palm techniques and lunging at her with lethal speed. Both Egan and Cherian dodge, though she's struck by his incredible velocity, loses her balance while trying to use her movement technique, crashing against a tree trunk. As she falls, Hyuk launches another palm strike. She narrowly avoids it, shattering the tree with the force of his blow. Cherian realizes this is nothing like her training, fear overwhelming her as death seems imminent. Egan notices her panic, calmly advises her to stop relying on the movement technique and instead let her body flow naturally with her sword. He tells her to focus on the weapon first, then the feet. Let herself move freely. She centers herself, repeating his words. Her mind clears as she begins to concentrate fully, her stance becoming fluid. Hyuk sneers at Egan, mocking him for hiding behind a woman. Cherian seizes the distraction to strike. Though he easily deflects her attacks with minimal effort, desperation fuels her strikes, each stronger than the last. He parries effortlessly, mocking her attempts, lunging for her face with a palm strike. She ducks and retreats, blood trickling from her shoulder. Egan questions her swordplay, noting her usually heavy movements have become delicate. Confused, Cherian reflects on his criticism, considering whether the Scarlet Trace training she's relied on might have flaws. She decides to follow his advice, allowing her movements to flow like water. Her body becomes graceful and seamless. With a single precise strike, she slices a few strands of Hyuk's hair. Gaining confidence, agitated, he channels more power into his palm techniques, striking with ferocity, blowing Cherian back and disarming her, sending blood from her mouth. As she fails to defend, he screams his intent to end the fight, eyes glowing with malice. Suddenly, she disappears. He mutters in confusion, questioning her sudden vanishing. A voice behind him causes him to turn. He sees Egan holding Cherian bathed in moonlight. Egan radiates an aura of unfathomable power, explains he used a skill akin to Void Step called Falling Blossom Step from the Heavenly Thunderstorm Keeps, a martial art passed down by his father, rarely revealed to outsiders. Hyuk trembles, sinking to his knees, acknowledging mastery of such a secretive art, utterly stunned. Egan gently sets Cherian near a tree, tells her about his parents' love story, confessing he'd never believed in love at first sight until that moment. Shaking, Hyuk stammers, struggling to comprehend how someone so young could master the reverse flow of such a wondrous martial art. With a single devastating punch, Egan crushes Hyuk's skull, sending him crashing through a tree and slamming hard into the ground, blood spattering as he gasps and coughs, realizing the terrifying truth of Egan's overwhelming power. Hyuk begs for mercy. Egan hears his pleas with cold detachment as he reflects on his father's idealistic teachings, contrasts them with his mother's advice to never show leniency. Darkening, Egan unsheathes his blade, the cloth wrapping tearing away to reveal the weapon bit by bit, its guard engraved with a demon skull, flames erupting as he wields the infamous Northern Hellblade. Demonic spirits surge from the air like ghostly whales, charging toward Hyuk, whose body freezes in terror, unable to escape. In an instant, Egan's swing shreds him into hundreds of pieces before comprehension can even occur, leaving Hyuk in fragments, blood pooling across the ground. Egan stares coldly at the lifeless remains, crimson eyes burning with intensity, muttering his father's path is far too boring to follow. Egan hums a soft and sad tune as he walks forward. The melody sounds like a song about crossroads, wandering paths, and uncertain futures waiting beyond a windy cliff. In his mind, he imagines singing not to people but to a single lonely flower that listens in silence. While lost in the tune, Cherian slowly wakes up, her eyelashes trembling as her eyes open little by little. When Egan feels her shift, he casually asks if she's finally awake. Confused and dizzy, Cherian soon realizes she's resting on his back. Panic makes her ask him to put her down immediately. He calmly refuses, says her body is still injured and she shouldn't walk yet. Her head aches as she tries to remember what happened earlier, but her thoughts remain blurry. With a teasing voice, Egan explains the man she struck without seeing properly ended up being struck down by his sword instead. As the pieces fall into place, Cherian's face turns pale, her breath grows uneven because she understands someone died because of her actions. Seeing her reaction, Egan grins mischievously, adds that a man stabbed straight through the heart can't possibly still be alive, clearly enjoying how frightened she looks. Her hands shake as she grips his shoulders more tightly. He suddenly reassures her, tells her there's no reason to feel guilty because the man deserved his end. He speaks more seriously then, says drawing a sword without the resolve to kill is an insult to the blade itself. Cherian listens in silence, still unsure what to think because Egan remains a mystery to her, acting carefree and playful while hiding a dangerous and ruthless side beneath his smile. As they continue walking, Egan talks cheerfully about the future, mentions the Dragon and Phoenix tournament and also the Heavenly Dragon Grand Tournament. His tone carries strong confidence as he hints he plans to conquer the world someday. Cherian, still clinging to his back, looks at his face from behind, studying his expression as she senses their lives are now tightly connected and the road ahead feels uncertain and unpredictable. Far away on another part of the continent, Wai Yong, Aisong and Mukch sit together in deep discussion. Wai Yong carries twin blades that release an ominous and heavy aura, while Aisong holds a sword that looks plain yet radiates power equal to hers. Their sharp eyes focus on Mukch as one elder asks whether he bought what they requested. Mukch responds by opening a wooden box, revealing 6 dumplings inside. Wai Yong takes a bite, her expression softening as she comments their slow journey reminds her of her youth. Aisong groans in discomfort, complains about her constant habit of reliving the past. She ignores him, recalls a dramatic moment when he once drew his sword in battle. Her voice grows low as vivid memories surface, showing the two of them clashing fiercely long ago. Her face becomes serious as the memory darkens. Aisong rubs his head in frustration, regretting his reckless younger days. Mukch laughs so hard he nearly spits out his drink. When the laughter fades, the middle-aged man asks about the young master they mentioned before. Wai Yong smiles warmly as she speaks of Egan's father, while Aisong chuckles beside her. They reflect on how fast Egan has grown. Note he's now preparing to participate in the Dragon and Phoenix tournament. Along with their pride, they also feel worry, knowing many young participants are bound to get hurt. Wai Yong laughs loudly at the thought, while Aisong explains Egan usually avoids harming children unless they truly deserve punishment. Meanwhile, Engel's expression darkens as he remarks the lunatic is still alive. A servant confirms this, reports Egan left the righteous swords Sect together with Cherian. Engel reacts with disbelief, asks what happened to the assassin he hired. The servant replies Hyuk was a great warrior but never returned after leaving the previous night. Fear creeps into Engel's face as he wonders where Hyuk went and whether he could truly be dead. He laughs loudly in denial, refusing to believe anyone could defeat such a master. Yet deep inside, he becomes determined to uncover the truth. The day of the Dragon and Phoenix tournament finally arrives. Firecrackers explode across the sky while colorful banners line the streets and guards stand watch everywhere. The grand arena rises like a massive pit prepared for battle as competitors arrive. Male fighters called dragons and female fighters called phoenixes. The crowd erupts in excitement as famous figures appear, including Huey Lim with Salma and Yang with Seal, drawing cheers and admiration. Amid the noise, Egan raises his hand with calm confidence, declaring he'll win. While the crowd reacts with confusion, some mock him and others quietly envy his indifference. He casually comments on the lavish decorations, guessing the Northern Heaven's supreme family profits greatly, which makes Cherian smile as she softly encourages him to do their best together. He answers with an easy smile of his own. When the 8 teams gather, the referee orders them to wait without touching anything. Egan smirks, taking it as an invitation rather than a warning, though he offers Cherian no explanation. Inside the room, tension builds as others speculate about the trial, while Egan remains distracted by a painting. When the match officially begins, he draws Cherian closer, asks if she notices what is strange, leading her to study the artwork again until she finally senses something about it is wrong. The warriors in the painting appear locked in a fierce battle. Yet when Cherian looks more closely, she realizes none of them are truly focused on fighting each other. All their eyes are fixed on a single glowing incense burner held by one figure at the center. This realization deepens when she slowly connects the image to the real incense burner placed on the table inside the room, positioned the same way as in the painting. At the same time, she remembers the strict warning given earlier that touching anything inside the room would lead to immediate disqualification. Around them, the examiners stand silently, watch every participant with sharp eyes, making sure no one breaks the rules even by mistake. Feeling uneasy, Cherian quietly warns Egan to be careful as she notices his hand moving closer and closer to the incense burner. Her concern grows, but before she can stop him, a loud sound echoes through the room as Egan grabs the burner without hesitation. The entire hall falls into sudden silence. Every participant turns to stare at him in shock. Among them, a man holding a red sword glares at Egan, his face filled with disbelief and irritation. Egan, however, remains completely calm as he examines the burner, tilts it slightly, revealing words carved into its base. He casually shows it to Cherian, points out the inscription that reads Dragon and Phoenix Hall. Confused, Cherian asks what that means. Egan explains the match begins the moment they enter the room and the first stage has already started. Behind them, one participant trembles and mutters incoherently. As Egan and Cherian prepare to move on, suddenly a loud voice interrupts them, belonging to the man with the red sword who steps forward while pointing at Egan and Cherian, accompanied by a young girl. He accuses them of ignoring the rules and behaving recklessly, speaking in a self-righteous tone as if he owns the place. He directs his anger toward Egan, claims such actions could endanger everyone present, demanding Egan put the incense burner down immediately. Egan listens patiently, then responds calmly, saying something seems seriously wrong with the man, asking why someone so young chooses to live only by rigid rules. Cherian observes quietly, notices the man looks to be about their age. Egan continues speaking, encourages him to think differently and challenge the existing order instead of blindly following it. The man dismisses Egan's words as childish nonsense. His anger only grows stronger. He raises his voice, rambles on while glancing at the emotionless instructors nearby. Then a smug smile spreads across his face as he decides to subdue Egan, believing it'll earn him recognition. Declaring there's no rule against drawing his sword, he unsheathes his blade, threatens Egan. Sensing danger, the young girl beside him tries to calm him down. He ignores her, assures her he only intends to teach Egan a lesson. Before he can take a single step forward, a sudden force slams his sword back into its scabbard. Egan moves so fast the man has no time to react. Stepping closer, Egan releases a quiet but overwhelming pressure that crushes the man's confidence instantly. Terror spreads across the man's face as he realizes the vast difference in their strength. Egan's ominous aura appears once more, carrying the promise of destruction. Leaning in, Egan tells him to stop embarrassing himself and to listen to his little sister instead. The man begins to sweat heavily, unable to move under Egan's presence. The onlookers watch in silence. The young girl approaches her brother, gently touches his wrist, softly scolding him for pointing his sword so carelessly at someone she calls powerless. Her words confuse him. He wonders who the powerless one truly is. Bowing her head, the girl apologizes to Egan for their behavior. Appearing satisfied, Egan exhales and smiles before placing the incense burner back onto the table. He then calls Cherian, tells her to follow him. While the girl seems unaware of how serious the situation was, Cherian feels deeply unsettled, having seen Egan's dangerous side again. A guard suddenly warns Egan that leaving the room without permission will result in elimination. Egan responds casually, accepts the condition without concern. As he walks away, the remaining participants stare in disbelief. Turning back briefly, Egan offers the man and his sister a chance to reach the second gate if they choose to follow him. The brother clenches his teeth, reminds Egan of the disqualification rule. Egan only chuckles, exits without hesitation. Egan and Cherian finally arrive at the Dragon and Phoenix Hall. Cherian, who once doubted its existence, admits in awe the hall is real. Egan pulls open the heavy doors, comments the riddle is far more difficult than it appears. When Cherian guesses only a handful of people could have solved it, her hope collapses the moment she sees hundreds of pairs already gathered inside. Shocked, she looks around in disbelief, unable to understand how so many participants managed to pass the test, voices her confusion. Egan calmly scans the crowd, points out the presence of powerful figures including successors from major factions such as the Southern Peak Alliance, explaining the Orthodox powers would never ignore something this important. When Cherian asks if he means corruption, Egan gestures toward the nobles, suggests the answer was likely shared only among influential clans. His gaze then lands on Engel. With mild amusement, he mutters the man is an idiot, while Cherian stiffens as the seriousness of the situation sinks in. Engel soon notices Egan, feels uneasy. His mind races as he wonders whether Egan has powerful backing or if the assassin he hired has failed him. When he glances at his sister, he sees her staring at Egan with open admiration, which makes him turn away in frustration, anger boiling beneath the surface. Before tensions can rise further, a clear bell rings through the hall, instantly silencing the crowd. A robed man steps forward, his presence commanding immediate respect. He introduces himself as Byong Su-chan, an elder of the Northern Heaven Supreme family and organizer of the tournament. He congratulates everyone for passing the first gate, sending excitement through the hall. Even Cherian looks at Egan with renewed admiration, acknowledging his earlier insight was correct. The moment is abruptly broken by the furious shout of the young man who had previously clashed with Egan. The brother and sister are stopped by guards at the exit. Their situation quickly draws attention when the brother raises his voice, loudly protests, claiming the test is unfair from the beginning. He points straight at Egan, accuses him of clearly breaking the rules by touching the incense burner, insisting such behavior should result in immediate elimination. However, many people in the crowd don't agree with him because the outcome of the test feels exactly as the tournament intends it to be. Until now, the examiner remains silent. Suddenly his sharp voice explodes through the hall, instantly silences everyone with a cold and scornful glare. He scolds the complainer, declares the affairs of the Jiang who are never simple or gentle matters. The examiner reminds everyone that in the Jianghu danger exists everywhere and constant vigilance isn't a choice but a necessity. His words are harsh and unforgiving as he explains there'll be no one to complain to if an assassin suddenly takes their life. He mocks the idea of crying to the ruler of hell for justice after death, making it clear weakness and complaints have no place in this world. His lesson is cruel but honest. The atmosphere grows heavy as the eliminated participants lower their heads in silence. Meanwhile, Egan turns his attention to Cherian, who quietly asks how he knew the incense burner was the key to the first gate. She wonders if it was just coincidence or luck. Egan gently corrects her, says there are no coincidences in the Jianghu. Hearing this, Cherian reflects deeply, begins to understand how dangerous this world truly is and how easily she might have failed without Egan guiding her. Nearby, the young brother and sister sit together in tears, comforting each other as the girl says they only followed the instructions they were given. The contrast between their obedience and the tournament's merciless rules highlights just how unforgiving the Jianghu can be. Cherian can't help but think she could have ended up the same way if she'd been alone. As the siblings prepare to leave, the examiner smiles darkly, announces those eliminated should consider themselves fortunate because the Dragon and Phoenix tournament is about to turn into something far worse than they can imagine. He warns what lies ahead will resemble hell itself. As evening arrives, the atmosphere shifts. Egan casually offers a skewer of grilled meat to someone nearby, urging her to take a bite. The person eagerly accepts, takes a mouthful, immediately lighting up with delight. It's Cherian's youngest sister, Syrian, who happily exclaims the food is incredibly delicious. Egan grins proudly, says even the simplest meat becomes extraordinary when he grills it. He explains while his mother is talented at almost everything, cooking is her one weakness, so he's forced to learn how to cook properly to avoid eating bland meals. To him, enjoying good food, alcohol and women is what makes life truly rich and worth living. Cherian notices how lively and energetic her sister looks, which feels strange compared to her usual fragile state. It's revealed Syrian was once a healthy child until she suddenly fell ill at age 7. Despite countless treatments by skilled physicians, no cause or cure is ever found. Cherian wonders quietly if her sister will ever recover, as her condition only seems to worsen with time. Their clan leader watches his daughter's rare excitement with mixed emotions, sincerely thanks Egan for making the day special for her. He also expresses gratitude for helping Cherian pass the first round of the tournament. Egan responds confidently, assures him he can rely on him for the second round as well. Meanwhile, Cherian now begins to see Egan differently, recognizes this young man is far from ordinary. Quietly, she wonders who Egan truly is. Later that night, Egan walks alone across a field covered in flowers, his steps calm and steady, while his thoughts wander freely. Suddenly, a strange sensation reaches him, followed by the ground shaking violently. Rocks rise into the air as the peaceful field transforms into a barren and harsh land meant only for powerful martial artists. Instead of fear, Egan smiles, notes the sight looks incredible. In front of him stands Master Hua, the Manor Master, along with Mayong. Master Hua explains this transformation comes from activating the 9 Palaces' exquisite flower formation, the weakest of the Manor's 3 formations. He goes on to describe the 5 elements and 7 stars formation and the final Celestial King of Light formation, which even a martial master can't escape without dismantling it. Egan acknowledges the strength of the formations but calmly corrects Master Hua, stating some martial arts can break formations without dismantling them. Shocked, Master Hua listens as Egan confidently says one day he'll understand. As the night continues, Myong informs Egan about a new mechanism called the 7-step path to the Grim Reaper, marking another step toward creating the strongest sect in the Jianghu. Gazing into the night, Egan wonders aloud if he can claim all the light for himself. Myong replies no one in the Jianghu is more suited for that than him. In the crowded marketplace, Egan and Cherian walk side by side as people pass them from every direction. Curious about where they're going, Cherian asks him about their destination. Egan answers calmly he plans to buy her a real weapon. His words confuse her. She asks what he means by that. Egan explains he's noticed her poor judgment when choosing weapons in the past because she often focuses on appearance and price instead of usefulness. He remembers how she once almost spent all her pocket money on something flashy and impractical. Her careless choices finally push him to intervene with firm determination. He tells her they're going to a trustworthy place that sells proper weapons. They soon arrive at their destination where a lantern light reveals walls covered with countless spears, each designed for a different handling style. A stern man wearing a blacksmith's robe stands nearby. His intimidating presence fills the room. Cherian feels uneasy as she looks around at the hundreds of weapons, senses she doesn't belong there. She recalls Egan once said he'd never been to Wuhan, which makes her wonder how he knows about the Dark Arms Merchant, a hidden place that deals in rare and dangerous weapons. Egan calmly studies the room before asking the merchant if everything on display is all they have. The merchant looks closely at Egan, notices the strange aura coming from his blades. With a knowing smile, he says he has something special for distinguished guests. The merchant opens a box, reveals a frozen jade dagger. Cold air spreads through the room as its frosty aura pulses with power. Egan examines the dagger carefully, mutters to himself while Cherian gasps at its beauty. Her amazement quickly turns into shock when she hears the price: 15,000 niang. The number leaves her more stunned than even facing death ever has. Egan, completely unfazed, asks the merchant if he can receive a bonus with the purchase. Cherian is speechless at his casual request. The merchant, intrigued, asks what kind of bonus he wants. Egan suggests choosing another item from the shop. Realizing Egan truly understands the value of the dagger, the merchant grows even more curious, carefully considers his request. When Egan makes his selection, the merchant's eyes widen in shock as he recognizes the importance of the chosen item. Cherian openly displays her surprise, unable to hide her reaction. The merchant laughs loudly, then asks for Egan's name. After hearing it, he admits he doesn't recognize the name, wonders how someone so young can identify such rare weapons, suspecting Egan must have an extraordinary background. As his thoughts wander, he speculates about the origin of Egan's blades, grins, asking whether Egan is their true master and if they'll meet again. Egan responds with a dark look before thanking him for the bonus. Both men share a grin as equals, leaving Cherian completely confused by their exchange. Later, Egan washes something while Cherian vents her frustration about him spending 15,000 niang on a dagger. She grows even more irritated when she remembers he also asked for a pair of old gloves as a bonus. Clutching her head, she mutters Egan must be a fool, a madman, or both, finally settles on calling him a crazy fool. Curious, she asks where he got so much money, jokingly suggests he might be the son of a wealthy family or involved in something suspicious. Tired of her guessing, Egan asks her to give him her hand. When she tries to pull away, he explains the gloves might help improve her martial arts, especially since she's stuck at the 7 stars level. Shocked he knows her rank, she questions him. He simply says there's very little about her he doesn't know. Still doubtful, Cherian asks if the gloves will really help or if he's just teasing. Egan reassures her, tells her to respect even the smallest objects because everything carries its own unique energy. He guides her to sense it. Mesmerized by his words, she allows him to place the glove on her hand. The glove slowly turns transparent, begins releasing mysterious energy, creating gusts of wind around her. As the power intensifies, Cherian stares in amazement while the glove absorbs surrounding energy and glows bright yellow. She realizes the gloves are far from ordinary. Egan smiles with satisfaction, says the glove has accepted her, praising her talent. Confused, Cherian asks what acceptance means, notices the word wind engraved on her hand. Egan explains she should greet the wind god, reveals he holds the second glove. When the two gloves come close, They resonate with each other. Although her weak internal energy currently limits their full power, he explains the gloves once belonged to the Wind God, the greatest martial master of the Jiang who from over 300 years ago, making them priceless treasures. Cherian wonders why such an item was hidden in the dark arms merchant's shop. Egan suggests the merchant was waiting for someone who could recognize its true value. As rain begins to fall and the next day arrives, preparations for the Dragon and Phoenix tournament continue. Egan and Cherian sit together as the examiner announces the second round, the test of striding. Egan quietly remarks this challenge won't be easy at all. Rain covers the pavilion as the second round of the Dragon and Phoenix tournament begins. Everyone turns their attention to the successor of the Northern Heaven's supreme family, Lim, who steps forward first without hesitation. The crowd whispers in surprise at his confidence. Yet no one truly doubts him because his name alone carries weight and respect. Egan and Cherian watch carefully, wondering what kind of movement art he'll use. Egan looks pleased by the bold decision, calmly asking Cherian what she thinks. The young master places his feet firmly on the engraved stone floor, his body steady and filled with quiet power. Before he even moves, the crowd already feels the pressure of his presence. Women gaze at him in admiration while men murmur in awe. In the next moment, he moves forward with perfect balance and speed, crossing the distance in seconds as if the rain itself can't slow him. Cherian stares in amazement at his speed while Egan looks slightly disappointed. Even the elders whisper praise, saying this is the kind of technique expected from the Northern Heaven heir. His partner, Lady Samar, struggles to keep up but doesn't give up. When the young master reaches the end, he lands lightly with his hands behind his back as if the trial were nothing, causing loud applause to echo through the pavilion. Only a young man from the Southern Peak Alliance looks unhappy, while the woman beside him watches with interest. As the noise fades, Egan turns to Cherian, who admits she feels nervous, honestly asks if they can pass this test. Egan smiles, answers simply that they can't, shocking her into silence. Before adjusting his weapons, he tells her they need to practice instead of watching. When she hesitates, he explains most people will fail because they try to copy the Northern Heaven movement, but this test requires finding one's own way, not walking someone else's path. His voice is serious as rain falls around them. Without waiting, he leads her away. They arrive at a quiet courtyard hidden from the crowd. Egan says this place is perfect before telling Cherian to show him the Scarlet Trace sword art. He explains her 7 stars realm isn't enough to pass. She questions how he can be so confident after seeing it only once, wondering if he's already a master. Standing calmly in the rain with his sword on his back, Egan says he's skilled enough to teach her, leaving her speechless. After a short pause, she draws her sword and begins, even though she doesn't fully understand. Her blade shines under the rain as she moves with grace while Egan watches closely, matching her rhythm with sharp eyes. When she finishes, he stops her, tells her to slow one movement by half a breath. When she follows his advice, she feels her sword flow change, her energy growing stronger than before. Egan nods in approval as he continues correcting her posture, footwork, and timing. With each word, her technique becomes sharper and more complete. When the rain finally stops, Cherian stands still, trembling as she realizes her sword art feels entirely different. Egan smiles as he tells her she's reached the 9 stars realm. Shock fills her eyes as she asks if martial arts mean nothing to him, unable to understand his level of skill. Elsewhere, legendary guard Myong stands in the forest as 3 elders appear, teasing him about his unshaven face before heading toward the tournament hall. Soon after, the announcer calls the next challengers. The crowd turns in surprise as Egan introduces himself as Egan of Drifting Clouds and Flowing Water, while Cherian follows as a disciple of the Righteous Sword Sect. Egan smiles at her, says this round should be easy now, then leaps forward happily shouting the name of their plan as Cherian follows behind, shaking her head with a small smile. Under the clearing skies, the two move smoothly along the stone pavement. Their balanced steps and steady speed draw the attention of everyone watching. Egan glances at Cherian while still moving, casually points out she's clearly improved. She answers with a light and relaxed smile, openly showing her gratitude as she admits his guidance plays a major role in her progress. As Cherian continues forward, a strange lightness spreads through her body as if she's dancing for the very first time. She quietly marvels at the harmony she now feels between her mind and her movements. Noticing her smooth flow, Egan explains while walking beside her that the eyes allow the mind to understand principles and the body then turns those principles into action. He calmly says this is the true essence of martial arts. Cherian repeats his words in her mind as she lands gently, surprised by how effortless everything feels. When she looks down, she realizes they've already reached the end of the stage. Egan finishes beside her with the same calm composure, a satisfied smile resting on his face. As they stand together, Cherian turns toward him, admits in disbelief she doesn't even remember how she reached the end. Egan simply smiles, lightly remarks their execution of Operation Dragon and Phoenix Shine together is quite impressive. Her expression softens as his words sink in. Soon the examiner announces they've passed the second round of the Dragon and Phoenix tournament. Outside the hall, the streets fill with noise as people excitedly talk about martial arts and the ongoing tournament. Within the lively crowd, Egan walks with steady purpose, his focus sharpened, unwavering. He soon reaches a quiet place where three elders wait. When he meets their eyes, his usual cold expression softens into a youthful smile. Spreading his arms wide, he approaches Wai-Yong with exaggerated warmth, happily calls her his grandmother. Before he can hug her, she lifts her scythe and lightly cuts his forehead to stop him. She sneers, calls him a disgusting lunatic, mocking the idea he could be her real grandson, while the other elders laugh and tease him for his shameless behavior, creating a strangely cheerful mood. Egan wipes the blood away, complaining about her cold treatment. Wai-Yong shakes her head before sharply asking what he plans to do after making such noise about forming a martial sect. His smile fades as he calmly says he plans to devour the Jianghu. Wai-Yong grows serious as she warns him about the 4 regiments, the 9 great sects, the 4 major clans and the divine cult that rivals even the Orthodox Alliance. The mention of the divine cult briefly darkens the air. Egan quickly dismisses it, saying he won't worry about what hasn't yet happened. The tension fades as the elders sigh. He then asks Mayong to escort them. When Mayong asks where he's going, Egan replies with a sly smile he needs to deal with a gross dark monstrosity. The scene shifts to towering cliffs and deep valleys. Cherian gasps in disbelief as she takes in the sight before her. Egan grins, assures her he's not joking, pointing to the life and death bridge hanging over a vast chasm, old and weathered, swaying gently in the wind. Cherian turns pale, admits she can't cross it. Egan calmly says she'll regret it if she doesn't, then steps onto the bridge as if walking on solid ground. She panics, warns him to be careful. He calmly explains fear separates novices from experts because to an expert, the bridge feels no different from flat land. His words steady her resolve. Though embarrassed, she steps forward, gripping the ropes tightly, pushing herself onward. When she reaches the middle, relief fills her chest. Egan casually mentions the wind often blows here. A powerful gust suddenly strikes. The bridge swings violently. While Egan stands firm, Cherian loses her balance and is lifted into the air, her body frozen in terror. His voice orders her to think of the bridge as solid ground. As fear overwhelms her, his crimson eyes glow. A dark aura reaches out, gently pulling her back to safety. Her legs tremble when she lands. She can't move until he softly confesses he likes her. Without realizing it, she crosses the bridge. Only later does she realize he's teasing her. Enraged, she punches the bridge post. A stern monk interrupts. Egan coldly calls him gross stink monstrosity. In front of a quiet Buddhist statue, the monk sits nearby with one hand pressed to his head, clearly troubled. He complains loudly about how Buddha ignores his suffering while Egan and Cherian sit across from him in silence. As he speaks, he angrily tears pieces of a strange mask from his face, curses the monster who was sent to torment him in this place, only to reveal moments later the monster he means is none other than Egan himself. Cherian studies Egan with curiosity, then looks back at the monk, asks who he really is. Egan casually describes him as a fake monk, a con artist, a thief, and someone with 8 completely disreputable traits. Although Egan speaks with a smirk, Cherian freezes when she hears the number 8. Her eyes widen as realization dawns on her, causing her to blurt out this man must be the infamous Eightfold Charmer. The monk scoffs, rips away the rest of the mask, revealing his true face, shocking everyone present. He corrects her with clear irritation, declaring his true name is the eightfold grotesque monstrosity. He mutters bitterly about foolish young women, complains none of them understand the rules of the Jianghu. Before he can continue, Egan lightly smacks him on the head, cheerfully announces the monk is actually his disciple. Lost a bet to him and agreed to become his disciple as punishment. Egan explains it began with a simple game of checkers, escalated into accusations of cheating, then turned into a fake duel, and finally a real fight, all of which the monk lost. The monk fumes, insists Egan must have used dirty tricks or poison, which makes Cherian quietly think poison and trickery are actually the monk's specialties. Yet he still lost. With a playful smile, Egan changes the subject, says he has a request, admitting while the monk is a shameless quack, his skills can still be useful. He asks him to treat a patient, offers to cancel their bet entirely if the monk agrees to help. The monk's attitude instantly changes. His eyes light up, he eagerly agrees, happy to end their twisted relationship. As they prepare to leave, Cherian asks who the patient is. Egan only smiles without answering. The truth soon becomes clear when they arrive. The patient is her younger sister, Syrian. Eightfold grotesque monstrosity carefully examines Syrian. After a long pause, Egan politely asks for the diagnosis. For once, the monk speaks seriously. He explains Syrian was stung by a rare venomous insect known as a blood bee. She must drink a special medicine for 15 days, eat properly and exercise regularly. If she follows this, she'll fully recover within a year. Syrian's parents break down in relief as hope finally enters their hearts. Overcome with emotion, Syrian kneels and thanks the monk repeatedly, calling him the great grotesque monstrosity. Syrian's mother feels emotions she never allowed herself to feel before. Cherian's mother thanks Egan sincerely, promises to repay him no matter the cost. Egan gently dismisses their gratitude, tells them this miracle exists because of Cherian's courage and persistence. He turns to her, repeats it's all thanks to her. Cherian trembles as she thanks him softly. Afterward, Egan jokingly apologizes to the monk and releases him. But grotesque monstrosity narrows his eyes, says saving the child can't be the only reason Egan sought him out. Egan admits he originally wanted help conquering the Jianghu, yet the child's life became more important, which makes the monk reflect on how much he's grown since 3 years ago. After testing his resolve, the monk agrees to help him. The next day, on a small isolated island, Cherian looks around in surprise, quietly tells Egan she never expected the next trial of Dragon and Phoenix tournament to be held in such a place, especially one cut off from the mainland. Nearby, raised voices draw their attention. They turn to see 3 people arguing heatedly with a messenger. At the center of the commotion stands the successor of the Southern Peak Alliance, his face twisted with anger as he demands to know how anyone could expect him to stay on a desolate island without his guards. The messenger tries to calm him, explains the leader of the Southern Peak Alliance already agreed to the fairness of the trial and its conditions. Egan watches with a faint smirk, mutters such childish behavior is exactly what he expects from people like that. Cherian, however, feels uneasy, admits the situation makes her nervous since being trapped on an island feels dangerous. Egan reassures her by calmly explaining members of the Northern Heaven Supreme family are already stationed nearby, just as the instructor mentioned earlier. When Cherian asks how he knows that, he warns her that sensing them doesn't mean they can relax because carelessness here could still be fatal. As their conversation ends, a ship slowly approaches the island from the sea. On board, a young girl curls into herself in fear, her eyes trembling as she clutches her clothes. Suddenly, the sound of a plate shattering rings through the cabin, followed by her terrified scream. Moments later, someone rushes out in panic, fleeing down the corridor. Inside another cabin, a grotesque man lies lazily on a bed, clicking his tongue in annoyance as he complains about the lack of attractive people on the ship. The man licks his lips as he leans back idly, wondering how noble women differ from common ones. This man is Chang Uma, the supreme lust fiend of the evil path, and his arrival marks the beginning of true danger. Soon, a beige flag marked with a dragon and phoenix flutters under the clear blue sky. The air is filled with tension as Chung, the assessor of the stage, steps into view. His presence commands respect. Participants whisper among themselves, some marveling at the reputation of a master overseeing the trial, others unsure if they're ready. Cherian glances at Egan, asks quietly if this trial is a flag capture challenge. Just then, Cheng gestures toward the two gates at the edge of the island. He explains the left gate leads around the island and eventually reaches the right gate, meaning the entire island itself is the trial. Participants can choose any path, and only the first 4 pairs to return with the flags will succeed, making it clear only 8 people in total can claim victory. The crowd murmurs in shock, understanding the gravity of the challenge. A girl steps forward, introducing herself as Yang Wei of the Blood Royal Sect, mentioning her senior brother who bows politely. Yang Wei teases Cherian lightly, hinting her senior brother is infatuated with her. Flustered, he denies the claim. The examiner interrupts sharply, ordering them to stop fooling around. Egan smirks, quietly amused by their awkward exchange. The head instructor explains skill alone won't guarantee success. The island is filled with mechanical traps, though the arrow tips are wooden and harmless. Participants are instructed to call for help if caught. With a nod, the trial begins. Egan and Cherian step onto a path no one else has chosen, venturing into the wilderness. Cherian looks around at the dense forest and unfamiliar terrain, commenting on the unusual route. Egan smiles knowingly, telling her choosing a path no one else has taken often carries hidden meaning. Suddenly, Egan's tone turns serious. He notes instructors should be everywhere, yet he can't sense anyone nearby. Cherian pales, disbelief written across her face. They stop walking, scanning the area cautiously. Suddenly, a rustling breaks the silence. Cherian reacts instantly, drawing her sword. An object flies toward her. She blocks it, stumbling back from the impact. Her eyes widen in relief as she spots an arrow on the ground, realizing it was part of a trap. She turns to Egan, who stands calm, holding another arrow aimed at her back in his hand. Shocked, she notices he caught it effortlessly. Egan flips the arrow, revealing its sharp metallic tip. Someone has tampered with the traps. Before they can react further, a scream echoes through the forest. Egan's expression hardens. Without hesitation, he rushes toward the sound, Cherian close behind, her sword ready. Meanwhile, at the island's port, a ship carrying the notorious Chang Uma, the supreme lust fiend of the evil path, approaches. 2 instructors stationed nearby notice it and exchange concerned glances. Before they can react, a severed head rolls onto the dock, stopping them in horror. From the shadows, a sinister voice echoes, taunting them. Bloodied and imposing, Chang Uma emerges, his aura radiating terror. One instructor tries to call for help, the other flees. But a chain weapon flies from nowhere, decapitating him instantly. The first instructor is struck next, the chain ripping through his neck with brutal precision. The dock runs red with blood as Chang Uma strolls forward, casually remarking about women waiting, his grin twisted and cruel. Back in the forest, Egan and Cherian arrive at the source of the scream. Yang Wei kneels over her senior brother's mutilated body, sobbing uncontrollably. The successor of the Southern Peak Alliance stands frozen, unable to move. Cherian approaches Yang Wei, trying to comfort her, though her own voice trembles. Egan's sharp eyes catch something unusual, a long blade embedded in a tree, its edge fresh with blood. He studies it carefully, scanning the scene. A participant nearby shouts in panic, admitting he never signed up for such a trial. His partner cries for help, begging to leave the island. Another yells for an instructor, but none respond. The horrifying realization hits them. The instructors are dead or incapacitated, and the island itself has become a massive, deadly trap. Egan's expression remains unreadable, deep in thought, while Cherian watches him anxiously. She asks softly if something is wrong and whether they should retreat. Egan's voice hardens as he declares retreat is not an option. He reasons the strongest traps are likely set near the return paths, anticipating any attempt to flee. Straying from their current path would lead them directly into danger. The group understands the gravity of their situation. They're trapped, surrounded, and must proceed carefully. Cherian, her voice shaking, asks what they should do. Without hesitation, Egan affirms the only choice is to move forward no matter the risks. Everyone is keenly aware a formation array may be spread across the entire area, turning even the ground beneath their feet into a silent threat that could activate at any moment. This constant tension makes the air feel thick and difficult to breathe. Cherian, unable to suppress her growing anxiety, turns to Egan and asks whether there's any way to destroy or dismantle such formation arrays once someone becomes trapped inside them. Egan's voice remains cold and firm, almost like stone, as he answers that any mechanical device or formation is ultimately created by human hands, and therefore anything humans make can also be undone. His answer only confuses her further, so he explains in more detail. Even the creators of such formations know they themselves could one day fall into their own traps, which is why they always leave behind a hidden solution or failsafe. Because humans never create trials that have no answer. Cherian listens carefully, then asks if this means the formation near them can truly be dismantled. Egan admits in a calm yet heavy tone that although it's possible, breaking such an array is extremely difficult even for someone with his abilities. His honesty causes unease to spread through the group. Some of the people accompanying the young master of the Southern Peak Alliance secretly doubt Egan's words, wonder if he's exaggerating his skill. Yet even they can't deny his presence and composure far surpass their own. The young master himself trembles visibly, muttering they should inform his grandfather, his fear plain on his face.